Well, it's Thursday, February 5th, 2026. I'm Brittany Noble. Here's what's coming up on the breakdown. A federal judge issues a new order that blocks ICE agents from making arrests. What this means for immigration operations. Plus, robbing from the hood. A judge is accused of stealing from the poor. We have details on how much she allegedly stole and what she did with all the money. And later, a black pastor is calling for the arrest of a white protester. He shares what should be done in this case. Well, a federal judge in Oregon says immigration and customs enforcement agents must stop arresting people without warrants unless there's a likelihood of escape. This ruling came as part of a preliminary order in a class action lawsuit targeting the Department of Homeland Security's practice of arresting immigrants. These arrests were occurring during intensified enforcement operations. Critics have labeled this approach as arrest first, justify later. Oregon now joins Colorado and Washington, D.C. as jurisdictions where the Trump administration is prohibited from conducting warrantless arrests without first confirming that the individual is a flight risk. Additionally, there is an ongoing lawsuit concerning warrantless arrests in Minnesota. The government is currently appealing the rulings made in Colorado and D.C. According to a new poll, most Americans believe ICE has gone too far. The latest NPR PBS survey finds 65% of Americans say ICE actions have crossed the line, an 11-point jump since last summer. The poll also shows a majority of Americans say lowering prices should be a higher priority than controlling immigration. And about 6 in 10 respondents say ICE's actions are making the country less safe. Well, a federal judge says a case challenging conditions of a Louisiana prison work assignment can proceed as a class action. The case alleges that the Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola, operates a farm line. The farm line is a work assignment involving field labor in the area around Angola, which is on the site of a former slave plantation. The suit alleges that the farm line, as currently operated, violates the Eighth Amendment rights of employees and the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Eighth Amendment protects against cruel and unusual punishments, as well as excessive bail and fines. State officials argue the farm line is essential to prison operations. Well, in Virginia, a black student speaks out at a Prince William County Public School Board meeting. Jefferson McLennan is an eighth grader at Gainesville Middle School. During the January 7th school board meeting, he courageously stood up and shared his experiences of racism.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Jefferson McClellan. My address is on file with the clerk, and I am an eighth grader at Gainesville Middle. Tonight, I want to talk about a serious issue at my school: nigger, monkey. The only game a white person can beat a black person at is hangman. These aren't jokes. These are misunderstandings. These are racial slurs said directly to me by other students. I have reported this harassment before. Nothing seems to happen, and it keeps happening. Recently, after being told, "Shut up, nigger," I reacted. I hit another student for that. The school acted quickly. I was suspended for 3 days. I'm not standing up. I'm not standing here saying what I did was right. I'm here asking why. Why, when racism is directed at me, the response is slow or silent. But when I react to it, the response is immediate and clear. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking you to stop allowing people to hurt me, to provide the same safe learning environment to me that is seemingly so easily afforded to others. When racism goes unchecked, it says that it's acceptable, and it teaches students like me that we're expected to deal with it because the school won't. I know racism exists, and I know I will probably deal with it again and for the rest of my life. I didn't expect to have to deal with it already. I'm 13 years old. I would like to be a kid just a little bit longer. I am not bad. I am not threatening. I am not aggressive. I am not lesser. I am just a kid who wants to go to school and feel safe. This shouldn't keep happening to me nor anyone else.
Prince William County Superintendent Dr. Latanya D. McDade provided us with a statement. Here it is. At Prince William County Public Schools, we believe that diversity is our strength and that every student deserves to feel safe, supported, and respected. We take our responsibility seriously to safeguard the physical and mental well-being of our students and to partner with families to ensure a positive learning environment. PWCS does not tolerate bullying or harassment of any kind, including the usage of racial slurs. The incident mentioned was reviewed and investigated in accordance with PWCS Code of Behavior Guidelines. While federal law prohibits us from discussing specific disciplinary actions or consequences of an individual student under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, the school division has worked collaboratively to support the student who reported this. PWCS division leaders have met directly with the student and his family to listen to their concerns and outline next steps. Planned next steps include school division leaders working in collaboration with the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Compliance Department to meet with the principal to develop and implement a comprehensive support plan. In addition, the school division is providing targeted support to the school to assist staff in navigating incidents involving discrimination or harassment. A positive culture and climate survey will also be administered to students at the middle school to help inform ongoing improvement efforts. This school year, all school-based administrators across the division participated in collaborative training on documenting and addressing student behavior, including guidance on bullying, discrimination, harassment, and threats. In addition, all PWCS staff completed required annual training addressing bullying, discrimination, and harassment, which included reporting procedures and emphasized available student supports. School-based principals, assistant principals, and administrative interns are also currently participating in a professional learning series focused on bias, awareness, and mitigation. PWCS remains committed to continuous improvement, accountability, and fostering school environments where all students feel valued, protected, and empowered to succeed. In Detroit, a judge has been removed from the docket. Andrea Bradley Baskin is accused of embezzling thousands of dollars from wards of the state to fund both business and personal expenses. Bradley Baskin, along with her 72-year-old father, Avery Bradley, and two others, is facing charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. U.S. attorneys allege that the judge and her associates conspired to systematically embezzle funds from the wards and misappropriate money for their own benefit. Prosecutors claim she used $70,000 from a ward's funds to purchase an ownership stake in a bar. Additionally, Bradley Baskin is accused of using these funds to secure a 2-year lease on a new Ford Expedition. Bradley Baskin was elected to her judicial seat in 2024. Well, Levi's is getting backlash from Black models after the jean company announced that it will pilot AI-generated models to increase diversity. The company will partner with La La Land AI, an AI-powered digital fashion studio that creates lifelike fashion models. Levi says it hopes the initiative will substantially increase the number and diversity of its models. 28-year-old model Jasmine Rutledge, who worked with the brand, recalls being the only Black model on set. She says Levi should be using its resources to book more diverse models. In a quote, Rutledge says, "I think it's silly, especially because there are so many diverse models out there. So they talk about diversity, yet they're not willing to go out of their way to book these people." And in Georgia, a Georgia pastor is calling out the hypocrisy of the arrest made in the Minneapolis church protest when his church was disrupted a week before. Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church took to social media condemning the non-arrest of an unidentified white man who claimed to be a pastor who stood in his church yelling that God would destroy this church.
The Lord Jesus Christ is going to destroy this church. He's going to destroy this church. And if you're in it when he does, he'll destroy you with it. It's time to repent of your wicked ways. Race-baiting, stirring hatred among the children of God, people that would come to Christ and won't because laughing stock of, you blaspheme the name of Jesus Christ with your harlotry, with your whorishness, your wickedness, your filthiness. Your prayers don't even reach the ceiling. You pray to demons. It's time to get right with God. The God of the Bible is going to destroy you unless you repent.
Now here's Bryant's response.
This white evangelical nationalist pastor had the audacity, he and his wife, to get out of his car, as you just saw, and for propaganda and disturbance, filmed themselves coming into our church, using hate speech, condemning us with wrath, judgment, and correction completely out of order. And since you are against places of worship being disturbed, and this gentleman attempted to do it at a black church, I want to know, when is the arrest warrant? I don't know his name, but that picture should be clear enough for you to be able to track it down with the full spans of the FBI. Why didn't we have this same kind of calculated rage, outrage, and disturbance?
Well, a new study finds that 1 in 3 physicians enrolled in Medicaid don't actually treat Medicaid patients. Medicaid is a government health insurance program that covers low-income individuals, including seniors and people with disabilities. Researchers examined the most recent available Medicaid claims data. They analyze administrative claims and provider enrollment data for primary care doctors and specialists in fields such as cardiology, dermatology, and psychiatry. The gap was even more noticeable in psychiatry, showing more than 40% of psychiatrists enrolled in Medicaid did not treat any Medicaid patients. The study also shows that doctors have been less likely to accept new Medicaid patients than new Medicare patients. That's a warning sign for Black Americans, who make up just over 21% of adult Medicaid beneficiaries ages 19 to 64. Almost 22% of children covered by Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program are Black. Singer Lamonte McLemore, a founding member of the legendary group The Fifth Dimension, has died. The St. Louis-born musician passed away at his home in Las Vegas, surrounded by his family. He was 90 years old. His family says he died of natural causes after suffering a stroke. McLemore helped shape one of the most iconic sounds of the 1960s and 70s. The Fifth Dimension won 6 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year twice, one of those honors for their hit Up, Up, and Away. Well, rapper Lil Jon is asking for your help because his son is missing. 27-year-old Nathan Smith, who goes by DJ Slade, was last seen on Tuesday after reportedly running out of his Milton, Georgia home without his phone. If you have any information about where he could be, please contact local authorities immediately. Anyone who sees Nathan or knows of his whereabouts is asked to contact the non-emergency Milton Police Dispatch Line at 678-297-6300, option 1. Again, 678-297-6300. Well, coming up on the breakdown, money, power, and influence is great, but at what cost? We'll explore what happens when celebrities go against their communities to support their favorite politicians.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, And I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Well, Nicki Minaj's public support of Donald Trump has reignited an uncomfortable but necessary conversation. This moment is not about outrage or cancellation. It is about consequence, influence, and what happens when cultural power is disconnected from historical responsibility. We have video of Minaj's declaration for Trump.
I am probably the president's #1 fan. And that's not going to change. And the hate or what people have to say, it does not affect me at all. It actually motivates me to support him more. And it's going to motivate all of us to support him more. We're not going to let them get away with bullying him and, the smear campaigns. It's not going to work. Okay? He has a lot of force behind him, and God is protecting him. Amen.
Well, our next guest, Dante King, he's a historian and author and executive producer of the new award-winning book and docuseries, Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, White Psychopathology, Collective Psychosis, and Trauma in America. Dante, thank you so much for joining us for the breakdown.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us, what were your thoughts when you saw Nicki Minaj publicly showing support for Donald Trump? What went through your mind as a historian?
So, I think that we see this a lot in our culture. I think it's a result of many years of believing that white is the standard, or that whiteness is the standard, and then trying to appeal to the conscience, to the favor of white people. And this happens in infinite ways in our society. I have researched it through a psycho-legal and a psycho-historical lens. I think Nicki Minaj, she just positioned herself as, either kind of the Jezebel or the mammy. And it's so interesting because This just really represents and demonstrates how Black women can be positioned as puppets for white people, be it white men or white women. In this case, he's a white man. But it also signals to something else, which is that Donald Trump has been embedded in over many years into, I would call it Black entertainment, Black popular culture. There are references. I was listening to a song the other day, an old song by Young Jock, and he's talking about, being the Black Donald Trump. That was true for Kanye West. It's been true for other men as well, Ice Cube, who have supported this man. So I just think it represents something that is psychologically that needs to be studied, really.
If Nicki were sitting with us right now having a conversation, what would you really want her to understand about the weight of endorsing a figure like Donald Trump?
Well, first, I would say to her, she needs to go and find herself outside of the framework of whiteness and white supremacy so that she can get back to her own sociocultural roots. But it's dangerous. It is very dangerous because she has a substantial following, and it just sends a message to other Black people, particularly younger Black people, that this type of behavior is okay, and it is not.
Okay, so Nicki came to America. She was just 5 years old as an immigrant from Trinidad. What does that experience, how does that tie into this conversation?
Well, I think anti-Blackness is global. And so I talk about anti-Blackness in our book that, it is really political psychology, or it is a psychology, a psychopolitical condition that we are all navigating. I think there are many different levels to it. And I think that, when immigrants come to America, be it from Latin America, be it from African countries, their idea of America is to become more like white people. And so as she has benefited from all of the institutions that we have in this country, particularly the entertainment and economic institution, and I want to throw in here that celebrityism is about narcissism, right? So this is about how much more attention she can get for herself and for her brand, and how that's going to translate into dollars, into capital for her. But going back to, what she's doing and how she's positioning herself, she is dealing with unexamined anti-Blackness, as many people of African descent are.
Can you go into detail about that? What is that?
So anti-Blackness, it has been ingrained in this culture through legality, through, the politics of what we identify as race or racial identity. And it's just, from the beginning, from the founding of this country, there has been a psychological orientation that, Black is wrong. Anything that is associated with the idea or perception of what Blackness means, or any associations of Blackness or toward Blackness, are derogatory. All of our associations about Black people or Blackness, the idea of Blackness, are derogatory. And the only types of Blackness that we find acceptable are is Blackness that comes through whiteness. So we esteem ourselves through white institutions. We value ourselves by Eurocentric educational standards, by the ways that we speak a Eurocentric language, our standards, norms, all of it. And so whether we're talking about featureism, texturism, colorism, our proximity to whiteness, be it education or capitalism, is how we define many times what we call Black excellence. And so you have this woman who worships, as many people, as many non-white people do, the institutions, the standards, the norms, the values, the behaviors of whiteness or Eurocentrism. And she is catering to it. She's pandering to it in this moment, and it has gone unexamined. And I think when we go to, for example, and I just want to quote a Black sociologist, Dr. E. Franklin Frazier, in his book, Black Bourgeoisie, and I quote him in my book, Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, he says, since the Black bourgeoisie live largely in a world of make-believe, the masks which they wear to play their sorry roles conceal the feelings of inferiority and the insecurity and the frustrations that haunt their inner lives. Despite their attempt to escape from real identification with the masses of Negroes, they cannot escape the mark of oppression any more than their less favored kinsmen. In attempting to escape identification with the Black masses, they have developed a self-hatred that reveals itself in their deprecation of the physical and social characteristics of Negroes. Likewise, their feelings of inferiority and insecurity are revealed in their pathological struggle for status in the isolated Negro world and craving for recognition in the white world. And so that's where we are.
What's the biggest thing you want folks to take away from that?
That we as a community have a lot to discover and to examine about the things that we have gone through as a collective group of people who are characterized as Black, as a Black community, and that it is just so evident that we don't know or have a consideration or a regard, a high regard for what our ancestors have had to endure, for what our parents and grandparents had to endure, because never would we be, if we knew what had really gone on in this country and what has gone on and what is happening now, we would not find ourselves ever voting for it or aligning ourselves with anyone like a Donald Trump or anyone that supports him.
Dante, tell us where we can read more of your work.
Please go to DanteKing.com. Go to DanteKing.com. This is my book, Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness. And then my next book, The Psychopathy of Whiteness, The Epigenetics of Anti-Blackness, Malignant Narcissism, and Collective Diabolical Antisocial Personality Disorder, will be hitting the waves February 24th. And I'm doing a free webinar on February 15th. Go to DanteKing.com. Thank you.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you. Hope that you'll be back again. Again, you can visit his website. It's DanteKing.com.
Thank you so much.
All right, coming up, of course, thank you. Coming up on the breakdown, we'll revisit last night's episode of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay with us. You are watching the Black Star Network. Plus, have you come across a news story that deserves our attention? We certainly want to hear from you. Please submit your questions to us. You can go to our website, blackstarnetwork.com. We'll be right back.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
is asking for your help. The 69-year-old has been missing since January 30th. She was last seen in Coral Springs, Florida, around 5 o'clock p.m. near 56th Street. She's 5'3" and weighs 140 pounds, wearing all black with Adidas slides. If you know anything about where Leans could be, you're asked to call Coral Springs Police at 954-344-1800. In case you missed it on Roland Martin Unfiltered last night, Fulton County, Georgia is striking back after the FBI raided its election center. Commissioner Marvin Arrington explains why the county is challenging the legality of the search.
Folks, Fulton County officials are pushing back following last week's FBI raid on the county's elections center. Earlier today, the county filed a motion seeking the return of the original 2020 election ballots and records that were seized by FBI agents at the behest of Donald Trump. According to Fulton County Commissioner Marvin Arrington Jr., the motion challenges both the legality and the scope of the seizure. It also seeks the court to restore the records to a Georgia custodian. Approximately 656 boxes of original 2020 election materials were seized. The move marks the county's latest effort to challenge the federal government's handling of the raid and Donald Trump's agenda. Commissioner Arrington joins us right now. I'm glad to have you here. So are you contending that the seizure by the FBI at the behest of Donald Trump was an illegal seizure? What's the basis of the motion to return?
Thank you, Roland, for having me. Happy to be here. Yes, we're doing everything we can to try to protect the residents of Fulton County and their private and personal information. First and foremost, it is a violation of Georgia law for this information to be shared, which is why the Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, has refused to release it to the Trump administration. So that is, the first reason. But additionally, Roland, there should have been a forensic inventory done, right? There should have been a transfer. They filed 2 lawsuits for the very same records, right? One in the federal district court, Northern District of Georgia. And then they also filed, along with the Republican Party of Georgia, for the same records in a state court case, Superior Court of Fulton County, before the judge there and Judge McBurney. And so Judge McBurney had already indicated that he was going to give them these documents, but they would have been a cost of approximately $450,000 for them to copy the documents, not to take our originals and break the chain of custody.
And so, look, you had a situation here where you had the director of the National Intelligence who was on the scene. We now know from the New York Times that Donald Trump called her and she put him on speakerphone to talk to the FBI agents. Talk about, like, none of that made sense whatsoever to have him involved in this.
No, it doesn't make any sense, Roland. And, I think certainly he has some ulterior motives, because the only thing that those ballots that they seized will show is that he lost Fulton County by 240,000 votes. And so it just defies logic that they would file suit for these documents and then do an end around on both of those lawsuits in, federal court and in state court, and circumvent the judge's authorities. So we believe that the documents, should come back to the state of Georgia. There should be a forensic accounting. And frankly, again, this violates Georgia law. And so we even have residents that want to file who believe that they have been aggrieved, right? They don't want their personal information shared. I imagine that there will be others that will be joining or filing similar complaints with the court.
What I found to be hilarious is that there were other Republicans who were running. There were other Democrats who were running. There were Republicans who won on the same ballot. So it's amazing how those Republicans aren't calling the election unfair.
Well, this is all politics, right? We've got an election coming up in May. Brad Raffensperger, the former Secretary of State, who stood up and told Trump that he could not find the 11,000 votes. He's running to be the next governor on the Republican primary, but him coming out and making that statement now probably doesn't do him any good in that Republican primary, right? But yes, not only that, we've had 25 elections since the 2020 presidential election. And so, if Fulton County is running rampant with corruption and fraud, it would seem the way to prove that would be to prove that over all of those elections, not over the only election that he lost, right? He won the election in 2016 and 2024. So, it's odd that he doesn't want those records as well. It shows that he's only worried about trying to prove that he believes that he didn't, that he won the 2020 presidential election. But Fulton County is 70% Democratic. In 2020, Joe Biden got 73% of the vote, and Donald Trump got 26% of the vote. And so that's not going to change. Fulton County is 70% Democratic, and DeKalb County is 80% Democratic, and that bears out in every election.
We played a clip yesterday of Trump in the Oval Office where he was asked about his call for Republicans to take over elections in 15 states, 15 Democratic states. And what did he do? He mentions Fulton County. He mentions Philadelphia. He mentions Detroit. And I keep telling people, in 2020, Donald Trump kept targeting black cities. That's what this is all about. This is a racist attack on black cities where black people are. That's why he keeps singling these areas out. He doesn't bring up a single majority white city.
Right. No, it is completely crazy. And, we can see right through it, right? I mean, you called it exactly for what it is. We know what it is. We know why he's doing it. We were not prepared for them to circumvent the process that they initiated in filing the lawsuits, right? We assumed that they would have gone through that process. The judge would have given them an order. He already indicated that he would grant them access to the records, but there would have been an orderly transition, which would have maintained the chain of custody. Frankly, he can't prove that. It would have been to his benefit to maintain the chain of custody. If he wanted to argue that something was different or something was wrong, he should have tried to maintain the chain of custody, because now the chain of custody has been broken. Even if the judge orders them to give us all the documents back, we still won't know whether they gave us all the documents back, whether they lost 11,000 ballots or added 11,000 ballots or anything, because now the chain of custody has been broken. And really, it's to sow seeds of distrust, Roland, right? He wants to tear at the sacred trust between the voters and the election process. And the trust between the voters and the election process is fragile. And so he's tearing at the fabric of our democracy.
Well, he doesn't care because he's a petulant child. As simple as that. That's just simply what it boils down to. This was filed by Fulton County. Is the state standing with you, the Secretary of State? Because this assault on Fulton County is an assault on the state of Georgia. Is the Secretary of State or Republican leaders in the state, are they standing with Fulton County when it comes to this motion?
We have not. I am unaware of any support from the Secretary of State or the state at this time. But you are correct. These are actually state records that we just hold on their behalf. But they have filed a lawsuit against Brad Raffensperger, a federal lawsuit seeking all of the voting records, right? And, we know what we heard it coming out of Minnesota. He would remove ICE if they just gave him all of the voting records, right? And so this is a play to just get all of the voting records and try to manipulate the elections and, create more voter apathy and people saying, hey, well, there's no reason to vote. He's going to, control the vote or the turnout. So we have to do everything we can to protect the residents of Fulton County and to push back against this foolishness.
On that particular point, are you preparing for them potentially trying to impact this midterm election this year. You got primaries coming up. Exactly when are those primaries in Georgia? And then, of course, the midterms are in November. And many people are concerned that Donald Trump is going to do all he can to try to rig or steal this election.
Yeah, so the primaries are coming up on May 19th. Early voting starts April 27th. So certainly we want everyone to go out and vote. And this is really the time, for everyone to go out and vote and, prove that your vote counts now more than ever, right? So we can shut down these crazy policies and things that we're seeing come from the administration. We just have to do everything we can to push back, stay vigilant, and continue to protect, the residents and constituents of Fulton County, and frankly, the state of Georgia and the entire United States, right? Because like you said, if they do it here, then, they're going to go to another black city next, right? Somewhere. And so we have to do everything we can.
Well, tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Roland will speak with Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson about his ICE on notice order, which directs members of the Chicago Police Department to investigate and document any alleged illegal activity by federal immigration agents. More of that coming up tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Well, coming up on the breakdown, the HBCU All-Star Game Experience is bringing elite Black college talent, culture, and opportunity to the national stage. We'll have details and break it all down after the break.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Welcome back. A major celebration of HBCU culture, talent, and opportunity is taking over the Midwest this spring. The HBCU All-Star Game Experience returns April 2nd through the 5th, bringing together some of the top senior basketball players from historically Black colleges and universities, many of them competing for professional opportunities on a national stage. But the weekend isn't just about basketball. It's about education and entrepreneurship and community impact, with events ranging from a pro day, combine, and college admissions fair to a small business expo and social justice panel discussion. So here to tell us more is Travis L. Williams. He is the founder and CEO of HBCU All Stars LLC. Travis, thank you so much for joining us on The Breakdown.
Thank you for having me, Brittany.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about this organization.
Yeah, HBCU All Stars was founded in October 2019 after 17 successful years of coaching. So I used to be a head men's basketball coach at two prestigious HBCUs, Tennessee State University and Fort Valley State University. But God placed amazing vision in my spirit, said, you getting ready to do something to change the trajectory of our historical Black colleges and universities. I love coaching basketball, but what you see now from October 2019 is our obedience to God and just serving our purpose in this space.
And tell us how you guys have grown.
Yeah, and so we believe in ear and or, exposure, access, recognition, opportunity, resource, and results for our proud and prestigious and tradition-rich HBCUs, hardworking, talent, and very deserving, and very ambitious and deserving, coaches and across the country. And so we've grown from when we first announced the first ever All-Star game in April 2022, the first time ever during the 40-year history of the NCAA March Madness tournament. April 2023 in Houston at Texas Southern University, the great city of Houston shut down. So I want to send blessings to the late Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee, the late Sylvester Turner, that really poured into this movement there in Houston and showed us love. And then April 2024, we took the HBCU All-Star Game Experience to Phoenix, where no HBCUs exist out there. And a lot of folks understand that this was the last state to recognize Dr. King's legacy and holiday, and to host a historic HBCU All-Star game of that magnitude in that part of the country in the standing room crowd at Grand Canyon University, back-to-back sellouts, 2023 in Houston, 2024 in Phoenix, and then 2025, we made history. We hosted our first ever epic doubleheader featuring the first ever women HBCU All-Star game in San Antonio. Those two games went down to the wire in less than 2 months. This will be our 5th year anniversary in the great city of Indianapolis. And we get ready to take the entire HBCU All-Star game experience, and truly excited. That's why this is such a truly God-driven vision.
And tell us what fans can expect with the All-Star game experience.
And it's bigger than the basketball game. So to put in perspective, we currently have 110 of the nation's top players on our watch list, representing our 4 premier Black college conferences, the MEAC, the SWAC, CIAA, SIAC, and our independent teams we call Tennessee State, Hampton, North Carolina A&T. So we've been watching these amazing all-star players on our watch list from November 2025 to where we are currently now. And so we will select the nation's top 24 players on that Monday, March the 16th. And so for all of you that are watching this, we're getting ready to bring the entire HBCU experience. The band, the cheerleaders, the Divine Nine, the Greek Stroll-Off, college admissions fair, where we want to bring all of our STEAM HBCU across the country to come participate in our college admissions fair. We want to expose our young folks to our great work that our HBCUs are doing across the country. We're hosting a pro day combine. That's important because the stats show that our HBCUs are not getting the looks. And so there are currently 450 NBA players on a current active roster. Up until this year, Javante Cook, Winston-Salem State, played in our 2022 HBCU All-Star game. He's on a 2-way contract with the Portland Trail Blazers. So we are making progress, but we still have a long way to go. And so we're really pushing initiatives, college admissions fair, social justice, civil rights panel discussion. As you can see in the landscape that's going on today, it's important for our HBCU All-Stars to be educated on the social justice and the civil rights movement and using their voices and their platforms. We think this is really important for the work we do. And then we host Friday Fun Days, community outreach, where we give back to the community. We lead legacy courts in all of these hosting cities, and we go into the community and we want to support some of the initiatives and the things they're doing. We have one of the best internship programs. There's a young person out there interested in being a part of the HBCU All-Stars movement. Go to our website and sign up to be an intern as a part of what we're doing in the space. So in other words, everybody wins in this. And then what's important, we celebrate these young men during our awards ceremony. Why is that important? We represent the culture and what it means to be a part of the Final Four weekend. Not only these all-stars and coaches that have done an amazing job working hard throughout the season, but we understand they're representing Black excellence, Black history, and Black cultural experience at their highest level when all eyes will be on the Final Four. And then we recognize some of those esteemed leaders there about humanity and service there in the Indianapolis community. And so we're just truly excited, partnering with our Black and brown businesses as a part of our pregame fan fest to invite our band that'll be here participating. Our band that participate, we'll announce pretty soon. They are our HBCU All-Stars. Our cheerleaders, our dance team, they are HBCU All-Stars because we want to make sure that every alum that is watching, if you can't be to the game, we have an All-Stars Foundation that supports our students that are interested in attending HBCUs, that are in need of financial assistance, and current HBCU students in need of financial assistance through our foundation. So we support in a number of ways.
All right, tell us again how we can participate in this event.
I think it's important. Make sure you're following us on all our social media platforms, HBCU All-Star Game. You can follow me at CEO HBCU All-Stars. You can go to our website, HBCUAllStarGame.com, and for more information. We want you tuning in. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be announcing who's going to be our TV broadcast and streaming partners for this historic moment. This is a total team collaborative effort. It's inclusive of everyone. If you don't know about HBCUs, we're going to educate you on HBCUs. So we have a great opportunity to celebrate the best in Black college basketball. All roads lead to Indianapolis for us to celebrate our historical Black colleges and universities and show the world that HBCUs matter.
We love it. Travis Williams, the founder and CEO of HBCU All-Stars LLC. Thank you so much for joining us on The Breakdown.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. And you stay blessed. You keep up the great work.
Thank you. You too. Coming up after the break in our next segment, we're centering our stories and our voices. So we'll introduce you to Eddie D. Williams, a Georgia native and award-winning author whose debut novel, The Affinity Theory, is already earning some major recognition. We'll talk about it. Stay with us.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all. Welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Welcome back. We want to introduce you to the creative mind behind the Affinity Saga, including the Affinity Theory and Echoes, a gripping series that blends suspense with deeper questions about power, love, and truth. Eddie D's storytelling doesn't just entertain, it challenges readers to think, reflect, and confront the realities beneath the surface. Eddie, we are so excited to have you with us on The Breakdown.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and pleasure to be here today. Appreciate you.
Happy to have you. Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit more about how you got started.
So to be honest with you, I started writing the Affinity Theory on a dare. I was watching the show Titans on Max in 2021, and the show was getting on my nerves. And I had my best friend who was watching it with me. And for 3 weeks, she kept goading me saying, you think you can do better? Why don't you write your own story? And I was like, I just want Titans to be better. I don't want to write my own story. But she kept bothering me and bothering me and bothering me. And so I said, get her off my back. Let me give this a shot. So I thought about the superheroes in my life, the heroes that I love to watch, watching Power Rangers and X-Men, watching Voltron and things like that. Me and my brothers and sisters and cousins playing in the backyard, pretending to be the Power Rangers and beating up on the bad guys. Thinking about the stories that my mom, that my grandmother, watching her soap operas, Young and the Restless, Guide and Light, Bold and the Beautiful, and all them, and starting to blend all of those things together to create a story that I call SWAT with superpowers. I wanted to see some good heroes beating up on some bad guys, falling in love and dealing with real world issues all at the same time, as a representation of our excellence as Black people as we go day to day being the everyday heroes in our lives.
And tell us more about how those personal life experiences shape the world and themes that show up in your books.
Absolutely. So with me, I have, as a marriage and family therapist, I have gone through my own personal journey of therapy and recognizing the power of choice, that we all have choices. At the end of the day, regardless of what we've gone through, regardless of what our issues have been, we all make choices at the end of the day. And so I wanted this story to be about what happens when you're put in situations that cause you to make choices that you may not have thought you would ever have to make, or put you in situations where you are going in one direction, but now you're going in a completely different direction. And all the while, you got all these powers. And it's not about having powers, but what you choose to do with them. And so,
You're okay. A live segment that this happens. He's back.
That's on me, people. My computer decided to shut off its main screen, and so it started playing in the computer. That's on me, my fault. But yeah, so again, the power of choice. And so with us, having to recognize that we have the ability to make those choices with the powers that we have. What do we choose to do with them? Do we choose to be the good guys? Do we choose to be the bad guys? And again, that's all a testament of the personal experience that I've had in my life where, again, you're having to decide, regardless of what you've been through, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of your situations, what choices are you going to make? And throughout, again, all of my life, that's been the revolving theme that no matter what I've been through, no matter what I've experienced, I always have a choice to make. And that choice can either be the good one or the bad one that's going to lead into the trajectory of the future.
Oh, that's good. Has there ever been like a topic that you were afraid to write about?
Yes, absolutely. Two, actually. The first, in the height of the George Floyd killing and the Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, just kept getting them back to back to back. That was one thing that I wanted to emphasize in the book Echoes, where you have those who are in power versus those who are not in power, and how we get minimized to our blackness, minimized to being these caricatures of what the main society thinks that we are. And so in the book of Echoes, you have a moment where those who have powers, those who don't have them are acting in fear, afraid that they're going to pop off and do something. And so there's a moment where one of the cops has he says a silent prayer. He says, please don't let my officers get trigger happy just because they don't like those who have superpowers. So that was one instance. And then another in touching on women's choices, especially dealing with abortion. I wanted to touch on that subject because it's a subject that's very near to my heart. That, while, I love babies all day, I also am very respectful of a woman's choice. Who am I? I'm a guy. I don't know nothing about the woman anatomy. I don't know nothing about that. And how dare I put myself in a position? How dare we as men put ourselves in position to tell a woman what to do with her body? And while I wanted to talk about and highlight those in my books, I also wanted to be sensitive to the people who are going to read them, because I don't want to take those subjects lightly, but I also don't want to over exaggerate them to exploit them, to make people feel like I'm using them for shock value. And so topics like those that are very dear to my heart, I'm always trying to be sensitive to the fact that I want to tell these stories and want to talk about these topics, but I also want to be respectful to the people that these topics are going to affect.
That's good. If you could, in a dream world, just spark one ongoing conversation, what would you want that to be?
That we are heroes, man. We're heroes. Listen, growing up, again, watching my mom, watching my dad, watching my grandmother, watching my grandfather, and the hardworking, things that they did to raise us up and to be who we are. To all the hard-working women that have been in my life who have been instrumental in making me the person that I am. I love, my wife, my daughters, the people that I've worked alongside, my best friend, Lavana, like all of us. As I'm watching all of us, work hard, trying to make sure that we, pay our bills, do well in society, all the things. We are heroes. Not we're gonna be. Not we're striving to be. No, we are heroes. It's the reason why I wanted to make my my entire world black, because I wanted to show and highlight the fact that we can be the heroes, we can be the villains, we can be the good guys, the bad guys, the bosses, we can be the baristas, we can be whatever we want to be. And so these characters are a representation of us, because we are everything. We are the magic. And so these characters are a representation of that, and that is the story that I want to continue to tell from now to the end of the saga.
Well, you can find Eddie D's work on Amazon, and don't forget to pick up The Affinity Theory. We want to thank you so much for joining us on The Breakdown.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you want to represent the Black Star Network beyond the screen, there's an easy way to do that. Just head to shopblackstarnetwork.com, and that's where you'll find official Black Star Network swag, from hoodies to t-shirts, crew necks, everything you need. It's just a way to support the network and show pride in Black-owned media wherever you go. So please shop blackstarnetwork.com and support us. And we just want to thank you for joining us today on The Breakdown. We'll be back for another episode tomorrow. Roland Martin Unfiltered starts at 6 o'clock tonight, Eastern Time, here on the Black